You are listening to the Bright Life Podcast, all about ways to stay inspired, chase your dreams, and find more gratitude in the highs and lows of the journey. I'm your host, Jessica Johnson. I'm a business owner, a part-time digital nomad, a self-growth junkie, a believer in other big-hearted women, and am all about sharing tips, tricks, lessons learned, and encouragement so we can all live our biggest, brightest lives. You ready? Let's do this. Hi guys, welcome to today's episode. Today is all about being able to trust yourself and just permission to make a decision even if you don't feel 100% sure. Because I don't know about you, but I know for me, I often look for that feeling of this is 100% the right decision. I feel so much safety because I have 100% conviction this is the right decision for me. But how often do you have 100% surety about the next step when it's something you've never done before or something that feels really big and scary? And I think more often what happens is you feel a strong enough feeling to know it's right for you and it's moving you in the right direction. And so I want to just call out one of my friends who had this really beautiful post, and I thought when I heard it, I was like, I have to share this with you. More women have to hear this, and then give you some tangible steps that I also use that maybe will support you in making that big next decision, even if it feels a little bit uncertain and a little bit scary. But here's what she wrote, and I think you'll really love this. So this is from my friend in business and in life, Anna Rapp of the Heart-Centered Entrepreneur. If you follow her on Instagram, heartcentered.entrepreneur.com, you will see what I mean. She has so much heart and love in everything she shares. And she wrote this post the other day. It said, "When I quit my job, I was 80% sure it was the right decision. In hindsight, it 110% was. When I bought my house, I was 80% sure it was the right decision. In hindsight, it 110% was. It's okay if you take a calculated risk. Bet on yourself. What decision is on your plate right now?" Isn't that good? I just thought it put it in a way that I'd never heard of before that was like, yes, this is really what it is. It's okay if you're at 80% or 75% or whatever amount you feel in your body. And let's normalize that instead of feeling like it has to be 100% in order to move forward and to take a step that's going to bring you closer to one of your dreams. So I was thinking about that all last week and wanted to just share some more thoughts around it. But I think even that and hopefully give you a little clarity. If you're like, that's what it is. I can take a calculated risk and bet on myself. I'm at that 80% and I think it's the right thing, but I also think I need permission to believe I can move forward and handle it no matter what comes. I don't know about you, but I feel like a lot of my big decisions have been like that, where I know and I feel in my body that it's the right next thing. I know that on some level, but then I have this fear come in that kind of clouds it. It makes me so scared and makes me really hope it's the right thing. So like when starting a business, I remember being in corporate and I wanted so badly to take that leap and to start a business of my own and to see what could come from it. But I felt held back by the fear of what will people think, or what will happen, or will I be able to replace my corporate income? And so that definitely took what felt like a really clear yes and clouded it with a little bit less of a strong percentage because I just was scared. I had never done it before and I had no one who would really tell me what was right to do. I had to make that decision on my own. You know, same with years ago when my husband and I, as I've been talking about in the podcast the past month or so, when we packed everything up and we started down this journey of working and living from abroad, that was a decision that we felt really excited and we had that body feeling that said yes for. But at the same time, we had never worked from abroad. We'd gone on one international trip overseas before. We'd never stayed in an Airbnb. I had to make the account for that time. And so there was also this feeling of, I think this is right, but I also can't know for sure. And so it came down to that calculated risk that Anna talks about of, I think I can bet on myself though, and I think this is the right thing. And a big part of what I also believe is at play in these decisions is Does it feel like something that's going to move you closer to the life that you want? Or keep you in the same spot, take you further away from the life you want. So I think that's a big part of it. Maybe you have a dream of starting a business or taking a course or hiring a mentor or starting to learn something new. And there's this feeling in you that's like, can I do this? Can I pull this off? But then you also know that staying in the same place doesn't get you any closer to where you want to go. So there's part of you that's like, if I do this, at least it's moving me closer to the life that I want to live. I think that's part of making any big decision and having that feeling of, I think this is right, but you can fill in that but with like, but does it get me a little bit closer to where I want to go? And maybe you'll still have a few more steps or a lot more steps, but at least taking that step in whatever direction you're seeing now that you feel some part of you saying yes for is still going to move you a little bit closer to the life you want and take you a little bit further away from wherever you feel stagnant at now, right? Another way to think of it is like, does staying in the same place move you closer or further from the life you want? So you may be nervous about taking an action and making a new decision, but if you know right now that staying where you are is not the right move for you in your career, in where you live, in a relationship, in whatever you're doing or wherever you feel fulfillment, okay, then that is a good answer that you still need to take some kind of action to get out of that feeling. And so this may be the one that's calling to you for a reason. And again, even if you need to have a lot of other steps that come after it, at least this one will get you on that track, right? So I like to think about it that way. And another big piece of this for me, a lot of the times, and maybe it will help you as well, is can you handle it if you make the wrong decision? So if you make this choice that your intuition is 80% on board with and your body is saying, yes, this is the right thing for me, and your gut just knows it, but you get in there and you feel like, wow, that was the wrong choice, or this was not meant for me, can you handle it? Can you trust yourself to handle it? And most often the answer is yes. Like, it may be scary. It may take a little cleanup. You may have lost a little bit, but you can regain it. And if nothing else, a lot of times just remembering that it'll just bring you back to the place you're at now. So you're already here. So what's the worst that can happen? If you make the wrong choice, you just wind up back where you are, right? And you're already here. So it's kind of like, at least take one where there's a chance of something different. So for me, that can be really helpful as well to just remember, even if I make the wrong choice, I trust myself to be able to counteract it. So with the traveling, had we realized we made a big mistake in packing up our belongings and selling our things, what we would have done is we would have gone back home and we would have found a beautiful apartment in the city just like we were living in. And we would have been like, that was a great story and a great adventure, and it wasn't for us. You know, if I had started a business and failed, which, by the way, it took me a really long time to figure out the right business model for me and, you know, to figure out it was copywriting instead of coaching as I initially started out in. And so, but even then I could figure it out, right? I just kept going and I just kept taking the breadcrumbs of, well, I love to teach in this way and I love to be creative and I love to write to teach my clients. So maybe I could do that full time and have a little bit more freedom and flexibility that fits with the rest of my life instead of, you know, back-to-back calls all day on the phone like when I was in corporate. And you know, I love working with people, but I like teaching them in this way. So I was able to always find the next step. And I'm so thankful that I took at least the ones that got me out there and got me going. And so it may be the same for you, where maybe whatever step you're thinking of, it leads to the next one that's a little bit more right. But it may be the one that gets you at least moving towards the future that you do want. So again, I love how Anna put that. She said, when I quit my job, I was 80% sure it was the right decision. In hindsight, it 110% was. And if you have something that you are 80% sure this feels like the right decision, in hindsight, you will probably look back one day and believe it 110% was. But the only way you ever get to that 110% is by taking that action and getting out there and seeing what could be. That's the only way you'll ever get beyond just that feeling and that wondering in your heart and get that 80% higher. Otherwise, it just always stays as a question mark. So I hope that this just gives you a shift that you can take a calculated risk. You can bet on yourself. You can trust yourself to figure it out no matter what happens, whether it's the right decision or the wrong decision, you'll find your way. And that if you have something that at least takes you from wherever you are now and moves you in the direction of what you really want, that's probably a worthwhile step and experience either way, because you get a little bit closer every time to becoming the woman and living the life that you desire. All right, so I hope this shifts something for you, and I hope you have a wonderful rest of your week. Thank you for being here, and can't wait to chat with you again next Thursday. Thank you so much for listening in. If you love this episode, I have 2 things you are going to love. One is a free copywriter training full of 5 steps to build a profitable copywriting business as your own boss, no matter how much experience you're starting with. Copywriting is what took me from a 9-to-5 to freedom as my own boss, to travel, choose my schedule, replace my corporate income, and have time to work on creative projects like this podcast. And I'd love to give other women the same opportunity. Another, of course, is my book, Your Bright Life. You can find it on Amazon or Audible, where I narrate the audiobook, so it's kind of like a podcast in book form. All of these things are in the podcast show notes. Thank you again for listening. I appreciate you and your review so much, and I'll see you back here next Thursday.